Well, things are getting noticeable for me now when I go shopping. As far as what people have been talking about in regards to these, food shortages and such. And there's a lot of talk going on, and people are saying, this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and, we're about to go full totalitarian. And, I know there's a lot of people who aren't worried, and they won't get the jab because, they've got their guns, and America has the things, and we're going to fight back, and the response here is going to be different. But what I don't think people are doing is they're not connecting the dots of what's happening, in the sense of this supply chain issue that we're seeing right now. This is a slow strangle. They've got a stranglehold on the supply chain, and it's about to get much worse, especially with a third of truckers saying that they're not going to succumb and not get the jab. And then if they put in some kind of mandate where that has to be a thing, and we see the supply chain dwindle even further, and then on top of that, if we start seeing a papers please mentality for getting into the grocery stores, we're gonna have we are gonna see some big changes. There's no plans for military boots on the ground, door to door, getting people inoculated so that big pharma can make their money in this money grab. This is a two-pronged attack, if not more, a war of attrition, if anything. They're going to starve us out through the supply chain, and then they are only going to allow people access to the food supply who are relying on the system, who have their papers, please. Paperi bitte. Papers, please. And so if you don't have them, if you don't have the proof, and you can't get into the grocery store to get your food to feed your family, it's going to be really, really tough. And you're going to be very convinced at that point to go line up and get it. And I mean, why not? It's just a little poke. No big deal. Right? Well, they're going to make it seem like that, and I think that the people who really do hold out for the longest, they're going to be the ones who are going to have to be stoic about it. Number one, they're definitely going to have to be stoic about it, because it's going to be a difficult path, and they're going to make it very, 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 very tough to hold true to not taking it. And that's a completely different topic than what I was planning on talking about today. I actually wanted to talk a little bit more about student loans and student loan forgiveness, which is kind of a little hot button issue recently. And kind of just take the discussion of all this craziness away from that for a little bit. So I mean, that was my original plan until I was just catching up on another channel, Prepper Now, who I like to listen to. I think he's got a good way of delivering some info to us and distributing it. And I just kind of connected those dots. They're dwindling the supply chain, and they're choking it out. And they're going to make it very, very, very hard for people who don't have proof of vaccination to get food and to live comfortably. And you know, I don't know. I personally, I'm torn because I'm in a position where I have a good career, I have a good income, and it would be hard to just, you know, throw that away to fight the good fight. I mean, but like I did say that this is the hill that I die on. And I don't want my kids to live in that kind of future. And I think that, you know, one of the many things that they might do to convince people like me is student loan forgiveness. Wouldn't that be something? Get your jab. Have your student loans forgiven. I mean, it's possible. How much, I mean, that government contract, and that, you know, that government contract that they have with the big pharma company, you know, essentially does say that if there's not an X amount distributed, then the U.S. government and certain governments are on the hook for X amount of dollars, which could potentially be very bad. And that's the thing with student loan forgiveness. Goodness, I know I yawn so much, but this drive and just talking, I bore myself, obviously. But right now, the student loans, they're in a bubble, according to a lot of people. And I mean, why wouldn't they be when it costs, you know, $70,000 to get a basket weaving or dance therapy type degree, or $200,000 to get a degree in anything practical like accounting or finance or whatever. I mean, there's definitely more affordable places to go than that, but we all kind of know now that the name brand of the college on the piece of paper is what really matters in the career field, and it's getting out of control, and it's a good repayment system to the government. But the thing is those loans get bought up by third-party companies, and they renegotiate with you. They bundle them all together because you take out a loan for each semester, and then they'll bundle them together at a lower interest rate. You know, they're still making the money even though they've paid it off to the government for you. And so it's tricky to think about what might be going on. But if it is in some sort of bubble, it would be, I know people are like, well, you know, like, you made that decision to take out that student loan. Well, the thing is, you know, if you're 18 or 19 years old and you're in the financial aid office and they're saying, well, it's, you know, it's like a grant, you know, except you're going to have to pay it back. And they don't really go over with you about interest rates and the potential, you know, if they don't go over that stuff with you, which they should do. but in a way it is very predatory. Like the CDOs that we saw that collapsed, that helped lead to 08 and 09, that predatory lending, that they just lumped it all up and called it an investment vehicle, and they sold it. And that's essentially what's happening with student loans. It's just not a collateralized debt obligation. It's something else. It's under another name. And the flip side of that is you've got all of these people who have to pay back their loans and can't afford to, and the fact that they have to pay X amount of money every month potentially for a degree that they're not using is the opposite of a boon on the economy. It's another way that it's holding back consumerism. And that's really what drives capitalism, is consumerism. And so that's why we saw the stock market kind of go gangbusters towards the end of 2020, especially with the stimulus packages, is because we had a freeze on student loan repayments, and then free money from the government, free in quotes. And so that really helped bolster the economy a little bit. And so that is why we're seeing this talk about forgiving student loans, because they have messed it up so bad that one of the only ways that they could potentially save it, the economy, is by forgiving student loans so that people have money to spend in the economy. And so that's why we're at where we're at. People get so defensive about, well, if you couldn't afford to pay it back, you shouldn't have taken out the loan, or oh, you should have blah blah blah. I don't want to hear it. If I'm 18 and I have an idea for a business, I'm not going to start that business, number one, because no bank is going to give me even a $10,000 loan, let alone a $30,000 loan like you can get to get a degree. And then even when you do get it, you're still 18. You're still basically a kid, right? You still aren't sure. I can't tell you how many people I've met who, while I was in college, were like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want to do. I'm going with the undecided, and it's just a smorgasbord of different basic classes so that maybe, you have a light bulb go off. But here's the deal. I thought I wanted to program video games. And, maybe I could have, but I'm just really not that artistically inclined. I know that it's like a muscle, and I could be better at it, maybe if I had pursued it more, but I really never had the means or the ability to go to one of those colleges out west in California or Arizona that basically were farm colleges for like Blizzard, Activision, or some of these other big gaming companies. I just wanted to design levels of video games. I thought that was the coolest thing. Well, then I realized I had to learn how to code, and then I realized I'm not really that good at math, and so I changed my major to finance, to business, which was my backup, and got my degree in finance. And then kind of went to work doing a career that I thought was kind of expected of me. I thought it would make me happy, but it didn't. And so here I am in my 30s now, and if I could go back and do it again, I would go down a whole completely different path. I'd get a completely different degree. I think the degree in finance has helped me tremendously in a lot of ways. But I think that there are way more options out there, especially knowing what I know now. So we should encourage more gap years and things like that. In fact, I was listening to another podcast this morning talking about the World Happiness Index and how, like, the US, as of like 2019, we were down at like number 29 as far as like ranking in the entire world of like happiness, whereas like, you know, I think it was Finland was like super freaking like one of the happiest. And like they have, I mean, yeah, their tax rate is super high, but college is free. But I think also like in Denmark or Finland, one of the two, everyone has to serve in the military. So everybody has a gun. Everyone's trained on how to use that gun. So like that's really freaking practical. And I know that they have a more homogenous society, and the U.S. is very diverse and very heterogeneous, and we are, after all, the melting pot. And I do think that immigration is the backbone of this nation, and there is a strong difference between legal and illegal immigration, and legal immigration is a very tough thing for many people to do, and I think it should be very much easier like it used to be. There's plenty of room, there's plenty of jobs, there's plenty of people willing to work those jobs. But for the longest time, you know, the crayon colors have been bickering over it. And so that's what kills me about the loans is boomers and older folks want to talk about responsibility, and you shouldn't have taken out a loan if you couldn't afford to pay it back. And, well, you know what? If it's predatory lending and you're not even really, I'm not going to say you're not smart enough, but if you're not really advised correctly by an adult sitting across the table from you saying like, no, like this is kind of like a grant, you just have to pay it back, but not really going over the interest or just glossing over it and not really, you know, talking about it. And then on top of that, the pressure that you might be feeling from your family to get a certain degree. You know, you might come from a long family of doctors or lawyers, and you might just be pressured into you know, applying to a certain college and going after a certain degree, even if your passion and your heart's not in it. And so then you're really getting effed down the road, because now you're looking at, you know, very expensive schools for those types of degree fields, and then you are coming out with a $225,000 student loan debt because you felt pressured by your parents to pursue a career, say as a lawyer or a doctor, and then you just realize that like that's just not what you want to do, and that's just not your passion. And that, I think, is one of the biggest tragedies of this whole system, is 18-year-olds are pressured into choosing what to do with the rest of their life at a young age. Gap years should be encouraged. Study abroad should be encouraged. Just the one semester that I spent abroad and then saving up money and choosing to go on a 2-week-long vacation to Japan has changed my life immensely, has given me so much darn perspective. And so, yeah, I think that, actually, I don't know if I am sure that I think this, because now that I'm talking it out loud, this could be part of the way that they get us into the new world economy, the like transitioning over, you know, like move to this new crypto government fiat social credit system, and we'll wipe your student loan debt clean. You'll have access to the grocery stores, and we're going to give you a universal basic income, and boom. Man, it sounds so great, and it will be phenomenal for a while. you know, for those early adopters, life is gonna be sweet. Man, it's gonna be good. They're gonna have all kinds of stuff, free money, free benefits, all kinds of stuff. But the problem is down the road, you know, for my kids, for your kids, for your grandkids, for my grandkids, it's not for this generation, not for this millennial selfish generation. You know, we're going to see all the benefit because a lot of us are freaking, a lot of us are fucking selfish. And it's the narcissistic generation. It really is, you know. The Kardashians, Honey Boo Boo, Jersey Shore, brain melting, brain soup reality TV shows, Gucci bags, and Botox, and all of this crap, Instagram and selfies, fame with no, how do you say, I don't know, fame with no backing, I don't know, just emptiness. And yeah, no, our future generations are going to suffer for it. And that's what they're banking on, right? It's the war of attrition. They've had this in place for a long time. They want it this way. They want the lockstep. They want the jackboot. They want total control. We are not human beings to them. We are not people. We are not the same to them. I just love that one thing that Prepper Now says. Some animals are just more equal than others, I guess. And this, what I'm about to say, this is by no means, you know, I guess, you know, this isn't like PC, but this is kind of like what it used to be, from what I understand, and I could be totally wrong. That's the other thing that I need to preface what I'm about to say with. But like, for my understanding, like historically, and I don't know if this has changed or not, but there was something about, you know, a certain Asian nation that, you know, their mentality was that they are just like higher beings than every other country. You know, they're far more intelligent. They work harder. They're smarter. They, you know, everything, and because of that, they're just better than every other country. They're on a higher level of existence, and that's what happens to you if you do become one of these elites, quote unquote, one of these officials, quote unquote. Who made you official anyway? Like, but that's what I'm talking about, is like, think about it. If you're somebody who has a decent career, makes a decent living, has never been homeless, has never suffered a mental illness, has never known the struggle of what that's like, don't you sort of feel a little more elevated than someone who is homeless? And I just want you to be honest with yourself. I mean, I know, you know, Christians are going to say blah, 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 or whatever, but I know plenty of Christians who are the judgiest people I've ever met. And some homeless people are some of the kindest, sweetest, most generous people that I've ever met as well. Especially like when I lived abroad, and you don't really know the culture or who you're talking to or anything like that. You just sit and talk and get to know people. And, you know, it's really amazing what you'll learn. And that is unfortunately a trend that I think that not postulates, extrapolates out to the wealthier and the wealthier you get. And like that's the rough truth of it, is that the more and more power and wealth that you have, the smaller and smaller your circle gets. And so it gets to a point where you're just surrounded by people, and you live in a society where everything that you want is catered to, your needs are met. You know, you could pay someone to wipe your ass if you wanted to. And I'm going through a school zone, and it's like just hairy situation. And you get to the point where, yeah, if you have all of these people that you're paying to meet your basic needs and cook for you and clean for you and upkeep everything, and you've got, you know, peons and people of, you know, a corporation that you've built, or, you know, your lineage has wealthy coffers, and you've got politicians in your pocket who just push things through for you. You know, you are the super PAC. Are you really at that level able to humble yourself next to a homeless person? Are you really able to humble yourself next to someone like you or I and sit at the same lunch table? And I think that's what it is. Some animals are more equal than others. And so the reason that we're seeing this wild conspiracy talk and what's going on, and why aren't the boosters working, and why is this happening, and why are some countries far more totalitarian than others? You know, why is it really bad in Australia right now and about to get bad in Canada? Why are there people marching in the streets in the Netherlands and Germany as well? Because those countries have been super progressive in the past. Australia doesn't have any guns anymore, so they could move at a much faster pace to fight, you know, to overcome the population. They know that they can't do that in the US, and so obviously they're just using the art of war. They are taking away our supply line. They're taking away our food. And, you know, I have friends and family who are very much into firearms, and from what I understand, there's a huge shortage of ammunition already. It's getting really hard to get a hold of. And, you know, that's why over the years they've slowly but surely taken away gun rights, because they knew that this was coming. They really did, and the day of reckoning is soon. And I don't know. I don't know why they want. I think those are KKK symbols. That's fucking disgusting. Like, rebel flag, KKK. If you know anything about the KKK, you would not display that. That's just absolutely atrocious to me. I don't know why they want to. I mean, like Prepper Now said, at the very best, this is just a money grab. At the very best, the best case scenario, this is just a money grab. And that's what I hope it is. I hope it's just a fucking potassium, saline, you know, solution that they're just injecting into people that has a decent, you know, chance of just fucking killing the Rona, when, you know, preventing you from getting it. And it's not some crazy ass gene therapy, which it is in a lot of ways. It instructs the cells to be a certain way. And you know, I've never heard anybody in a serious manner really consider this to be some kind of freaking, 5G conspiracy theory, or this way. They're not injecting us. They don't need to inject us with some tracking chip. You know why? Because we're already addicted to our phone, the thing that I'm looking at while I make this video. I always have it with me. There are times when I go for walks, I purposely try to leave it at the house. There are times when I'm at my house, I purposely try to leave it in other rooms. I don't need to be looking at my phone all the time. I went on my wife and I went on a date the other night, and there were two even younger millennials, I guess, or Zoomers, or I don't even know what the generation after us is called, but this girl that was, I could see the girl, and I think it might have been two girls, or no, it was a guy and a girl. It was a guy and a girl, and the guy was a wimpy looking dude. In my generation, if I was in high school, he would have been what I would have considered emo in a lot of ways. I don't think he was quite emo, but he was just very lanky and skinny, wimpy, effeminate, and she was really pretty. She was a really pretty girl, and she just was sitting pretty on her phone the whole time, just looking at her phone the whole time they were eating, like glued to it. And the dude looked miserable. This young 20-year-old male looked terrible. Like, he looked miserable, absolutely sad. And just, I just, and that's, sometimes I feel like those will be topics for videos of, I don't know what happens when I have an incoming call and I'm talking to you guys. About, like, dating and that. I hope that those are some topics and everything. I will never understand that, but I guess I do, right? Why is it always like these ugly dudes get gorgeous women? Well, it's because it's the ugly dudes who are the only ones willing to put up with their ish. Like, seriously, they're the only ones willing to put up with that kind of behavior. But yeah, no, thank God that restaurant we went to, awesome. I'm telling you, none of the service, nobody was wearing a mask that worked there. And that was amazing to me. No, I want to just go back and just eat there as much as I can, to be like, as a big, like, support. Vote with your dollar, everybody. Vote with your dollar. That's the most important thing that you can be doing throughout all of this, is voting with your dollar. Because if you're going to support the totalitarian restaurants and the people that bend at the knee for all of this change and everything, then you can't call yourself whatever you are, whatever you're calling yourself, by listening to me talk. And I just want to say that I think if your city is one of those places that's getting very, very heavy-handed, as it were, or putting your, we're getting down to the thumb screws kind of situation. If it's like that, get out. You don't owe it to anybody to stay. I run a Discord server of like-minded individuals, talking to, and there's a lady there in Canada who runs a restaurant, and she does everything she can, everything that she can do to keep things kind of like to kind of keep things normal, as it were. And there's a guy in California, and been listening to his anthology of getting out and leaving and getting out of California and getting away from all of this madness. And yeah, do it. there are plenty of jobs. Whatever you're doing as a career, you can either do it from a new location, or you can find something else. It really depends. If I had to go and bale hay to feed my family, as long as it meant that I could eat and live in a city or somewhere that has food and I can get into the grocery store, I'm gonna do it. I don't care. We'll think about it. We might take a big penalty because we just moved into the new house, but I'm in a different situation than a lot of people, with my wife being type 1. That's what scares me the most, and I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts on it. If it gets bad, do you think that I'm like the medication that I take and her insulin, do you think that we're gonna be required to have proof of jab, proof of inoculation, papers please, in order to have access to our medications for her to get her insulin? Is that what it's going to be like? What do you think? Do you think it'll be like that? Let me know in the comment below. And while you're commenting, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm going to do another aquaponics video soon as well, because that got a lot of views. And I've made some updates, and I've gotten another light, and I've got CO2 diffuser on the way. Should be in today or tomorrow. Hopefully when I get home after my workout. Lower body, yay. Hopefully when I get home, I don't have any sick or injured fish. I put these algae wafers in to help my snails get jump started, and well, it turns out everybody loved them except for my guppy. She was chill. She's pregnant, but everybody loved them, and yeah, I didn't realize that because I put those in around the same time that I fed them some bloodworms and certain kind of shrimp, and I thought they had something called dropsy, because that's what I was looking at, because their poor little bellies were like so I just part of a sick twisted part of me wanted to get in there and like squish their little bellies, but they were just like so swollen, and I was so worried. But I went down there this morning because I had to get a tool before I headed to work and throw it in my tool bag, and I kind of got down there and started looking around at all of them, and none of them were as swollen as they were last night. So I was like, whew, not gonna have to euthanize all my fish, because I got worried there. But yeah, those algae wafers, man, I was excited to put those in there for the fish, but didn't quite work out. And yeah, and it made them aggressive towards each other. Those little piggies, my wife called it little piggy syndrome, by the way, when they are all fat. She was like, hopefully it's just little piggy syndrome, because oh my gosh, they started fighting each other and getting aggressive with each other. It's something else. So I guess we're gonna have to ixnay those. Man, I feel so bad for Australia. I couldn't imagine not being able to go work out, having this crazy lockdown. They so heavy-handed. They are beating down the will of the people. Not for me, my friends. And so let's be careful about what happens, because it seems to me that they're gonna pull the Sun Tzu, the art of war. They're gonna take away our supply line, which it feels like they're trying to do, and they're blaming it on who knows what. But I'm starting to feel the shortages. At first, I didn't feel them. Everyone else was sitting here talking about them, and I had heard a long time ago, start stocking up. I had friends who said, well, I've got a, truck driver friend, and said that they're either about to go on strike, or, there's about to be shortages to stock up on, toilet paper, diapers, and all that jazz. And we did. And I told my mom, and she said she started to notice it too a little while later, but then things weren't really as bad as some people on the YouTubes were saying. And I think it's finally getting to us, to where we're at. I think that that's worrisome, because I joined this whole like prepping thing, and this whole shit hits the fan thing. I joined it pretty late, so we're still in the accumulation phase. We're still in the get 3 months of food stored up. We got some stuff. We got a couple of weeks, but we don't have near enough what I think that this war of attrition is going to take. Don't have our chicken coop set up, which I want to do. Don't have, we got a lot of water stocked away. Not enough, but we got some. Cool. We got it stored where it's kind of going to be cool. But not enough. And let's see. I mean, I've got the aquaponics up and going ish. Some seeds are sprouting, so that's good to see. And hopefully the kale has sprouted. The Swiss chard finally sprouted. It was like the last couple, and it's finally coming up. So I'm gonna have to figure out, probably just, I'm either gonna reuse that peat moss. That's a beautiful house. That's a big house. I don't know what I'd do with a house that big. Probably reuse the peat moss or whatever. Look, I'm just rambling. I got to keep these videos a little bit shorter. I can't believe I've already talked for over 40 minutes. Hopefully you guys are watching these on like 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed, because I'm from the South. I talk slow. But let me know in the comments what you think about all that, what you think about the student loans. Do you think they're doing what I think they're doing? And you got any tips for aquaponics or prepping, let me know. And we'll talk to y'all maybe tomorrow. Bye.